Alright, so I'm working on the KORG Minilogue here, but this idea applies to pretty much any analog synthesizer. I'm going to start by doing an initialized patch, which gives me just a basic saw wave. Alright, and then I think it's best to start by talking a little bit about electric pianos. So there were a few different kinds of electric pianos during their heyday in the 60s. So there's the most famous is the Rhodes, which, you know, to my ear has more of like the metallic sort of belly sort of overtone. And then there's the Wurlitzer, which, you know, I'm a big fan of, and I think is going to be easier to approximate on an analog synthesizer. You know, when I think of a Wurlitzer, you know, it's got that gainy sound. It's not like a hollow sound, but it is the sound of and this is a sound you start recognizing when you start thinking about synthesis. It's the sound of odd harmonics, which is the sound of a square wave. And you know, it sounds like a clarinet. If you could imagine if a clarinet had like the attack and like fade of a piano, that's kind of the sound of a Wurlitzer. And it's the sound of a square wave. And I think another way to think about it is, you know, it's got like such a gainy sound, such a overdriven sound that, well, what's an overdriven sound wave look like? Well, you know, you can approximate that. You know, when a sound gets distorted, it gets clipped, and the peaks get clipped, and they get, you know, like a square wave. And then if you want, you add some noise here. It just further adds to the illusion of distortion. So the next step I'd look at is the envelope, how to sort of shape the attack and the sustain and the release of the sound. And I mean, a piano, it comes immediately, but it's got a fade. You know, and it's just a natural sound, so it's pretty much decays to nothing, I think. You know, not entirely nothing. You maybe want to give it a little bit of a release. Maybe not. Maybe like that, kind of get the sound of the feel of letting go of keys. Like you would have on a real electric piano. And then next we want to, you know, just kill off the high end a little bit with the filter. It's this, you know, I'm set this 4-pole filter. And then we want to make the we want it like an attack sound that starts bright and then kind of fades and gets a little darker. So we'll use the filter envelope to do that. And again, we want to have a sustain that's quite a bit, you know, below center, and slowly fade to that. We hear what it sounds like if you fade quickly. Not like an electric piano. An electric piano will fade a little slower. So we're getting a little closer, and So an important aspect of piano, electric piano or otherwise, is that it's velocity sensitive. I mean, without that, it just doesn't sound like a piano. And we'll just make it so with the velocity, the Minilogue has a switch for velocity sensitivity for the filter. So when we push harder, it'll get brighter. We're already pretty close, I would say. Let's add a little slap delay to it. One thing we can do, we can adjust the pulse width on the square wave or the pulse wave, whatever you want to call it, and see how that affects the sound. You know, if we go too high, it sounds a little cheesy, a little too thin. But I think there's, there's a region a little off from zero where it sounds, gives it that crunch that sounds like Three Dog Night or something. So I'm just adjusting things a little bit, just by ear, just what sounds right. So, I mean, this is pretty much the sound. We could stop here. Or if you want to take it a little further, a lot of electric pianos will have, especially the Rhodes, will have a tremolo effect on it, which is, modulating the volume. Unfortunately, this synth, you can't route the LFO to affect the amplitude, but you can. The closest you can get is to do the cutoff. It sounds a little like tremolo. With the noise, I like to dial in, not so that you hear it so much, but like it's there, it's giving it character. And then sometimes it's nice on an electric piano to kind of have a chorus effect to the sound. This doesn't have built-in effects, but you can kind of get a chorus sound by adding another oscillator, just doing another square wave. And then you just detune it a little bit. A little bit. So yeah, I mean, that's the sound of an electric piano done on an analog synthesizer. I mean, that's a good stopping point. I mean, and these same principles you can apply to any kind of sound you're trying to recreate. With the simple building blocks, you can create fairly complex and nuanced sounds. And so if anybody has any requests for another sort of patch tutorial, just leave it in the comments, and I'll try to do that next. All right, take care.